What if the Bible as we know it was not complete? What if there were sacred texts, ancient scrolls, divinely inspired words that were buried, silenced, erased? Hidden not because they lacked truth, but because they revealed too much of it. For centuries, fragments of these forbidden books have whispered from the shadows. Texts like the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Enoch, the Gospel of Mary, and the Apocalypse of Abraham. Each one offers a glimpse into a different spiritual world, raw, unfiltered, powerful. And yet, they were cast out, not by accident, not by time, but by choice. Powerful councils, religious empires, centuries of politics and fear. And now, for the first time in centuries, their voices are rising again, unburied, unchained, unforgotten. In this episode, we go deep into one of the most enigmatic of them all, the Book of Jubilees, a text once cherished by early Jewish communities and still preserved in the ancient Ethiopian Bible, but banned by the Western Church. Why? What secrets does it hold, and why were those secrets too dangerous to survive? This is not just history. This is spiritual archaeology. This is echoes of Eden, and what was once buried will now be heard. The Book of Jubilees, also called Little Genesis, a sacred text, long forgotten by most of the world, yet once held in high esteem by ancient communities of faith. But what is it? Jubilees is a retelling of the Book of Genesis, but through a very different lens. It claims that angels revealed to Moses the full history of creation. It offers precise calendars, new genealogies, and a vision of time shaped by divine order, in blocks of 49 years, called Jubilees. It speaks of Adam and Eve's daughters, their names, their roles. It tells of a world overtaken by fallen angels, and the corruption they seeded into the bloodline of humanity. It reveals that the law existed before Moses, that the Sabbath was kept by angels, that demons are the spirits of the Nephilim. These are not the stories we were taught in Sunday school. These are revelations that challenge doctrine, that expand what we thought we knew about the foundations of human history. And yet, the Book of Jubilees was once beloved. It was found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, preserved by the Essenes, a mystical Jewish sect who saw it as sacred truth. Early Christians quoted from it. In Ethiopia, it remains part of the Bible to this day, read, studied, and honored. But in the West, it vanished, erased. Why? Was it too bold, too celestial, too threatening to the narrative being built by powerful councils? One thing is certain. The Book of Jubilees was not forgotten by accident. It was buried with intention, but buried things have a way of echoing. And now, its voice returns. The Bible did not fall from heaven, whole and complete. It was crafted, debated, and selected over centuries by men, by theologians, bishops, and emperors. Books were not only chosen for their divine insight, but also for how well they served the needs of the growing church. In the early centuries after Christ, the Christian world was divided. Different regions followed different scriptures. Some revered the Book of Jubilees, others held fast to Enoch. Still others honored gospels that have long since vanished. But then came the councils. Nicaea, Laodicea, Hippo, Carthage. Powerful gatherings where church leaders sought to unify belief and consolidate control. And in these meetings, decisions were made. Some texts were canonized, others were deemed apocryphal, some were burned, others buried. Book of Jubilees, too rigid, too Jewish, too full of angels, law, and heavenly order. Its vision of time conflicted with Roman calendars. Its reverence for Enoch and cosmic battles did not fit the emerging orthodoxy. So it was discarded, labeled dangerous, erased from the Western tradition. But here's the truth. The line between scripture and heresy was not drawn by God. It was drawn by men in robes and thrones, influenced by politics, power, and empire. And once drawn, it became sacred, not because it was unchangeable, but because people stopped asking questions. But now, we ask again, who decided what belongs in the Bible? And what did they leave out? Imagine a book, written not by man, but dictated by an angel. That's what the Book of Jubilees claims to be. According to the text, Moses didn't just receive the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. He received a divine chronology of the world, a revelation that traces history from creation to his own time, with shocking clarity. And what he was told? It wasn't like Genesis. It was something deeper, more structured, more celestial. In the Book of Jubilees, time is not merely a backdrop. It is a divine architecture. Everything is structured in sacred units of 49 years called Jubilees, and within these cycles, history unfolds not by chance, but by celestial design. The very first chapter sets the tone. When Moses is taken up to Mount Sinai, God commands an angel to reveal the true timeline of the world, saying, "Set in order the years in their jubilees from the day of the creation of man until the day of the new creation." Jubilees 129. From the Garden of Eden to the flood, from Abraham to the Exodus, each moment is tied to a divine rhythm. According to Jubilees 638, even the flood occurred exactly in the 3rd week of the 6th year of the 27th Jubilee. That's not randomness, that's precision. This sacred calendar reorders our view of history. Every major event in humanity's journey, preordained, predicted, patterned. It wasn't chaos, it was divine intention, a blueprint, written not just in laws, but in time itself. Angels were there from the beginning. In Genesis, angels seem like whispers, unnamed messengers, figures, in the periphery. But in the Book of Jubilees, they take center stage. They don't just appear. They govern, they intervene, they transgress. God himself commands the presence of 4 angelic orders from the beginning. Let the angels of the presence and the angels of sanctification bless me, and all the angels of light who were formed before the world was made. Jubilees OR. Point 2. From the 2nd day of creation, angels were already established, created in light, before the heavens themselves were complete, but not all remained faithful. The Watchers, a group of angels assigned to earth, descended to mingle with humans, and in doing so corrupted both flesh and spirit. And in the 2nd week of the 10th Jubilee, the Watchers descended, those who were to instruct the children of men, and they erred. Jubilees 5:1. They taught humanity sorcery, enchantments, cutting of roots, and revealed celestial secrets meant to remain hidden. Jubilees 8:3. Result? And they begat sons, the Nephilim, and the earth was filled with unrighteousness. Jubilees 5:2. Giants, bloodshed, chaos. Their offspring, the Nephilim, brought about a tide of violence so vast it triggered a divine reset. And God saw the earth that it was corrupt, and he said he would destroy everything which was upon the earth. Jubilees 5:3-4. It was their rebellion that led to the flood. In the narrative of Jubilees, the flood is not just a consequence of human sin, it's the outcome of celestial war, of divine betrayal, of knowledge that was never meant for human hands. Eden Jubilees describes the Garden of Eden as not just a paradise, but a sacred mountain, a cosmic axis connecting heaven and earth. It even claims that Adam was buried in Eden alongside the patriarchs, making it a place of origin and return. This wasn't just a garden, it was the heart of the world. In the Book of Jubilees, the law is not a new covenant at Sinai. It's an eternal code embedded in the very fabric of creation. According to Jubilees, The commandments weren't first revealed to Moses. They were taught by angels, observed by Noah, and honored by Abraham, long before the mountain ever smoked. For I have written in the book of the first law, in that which I have written for thee, that thou shouldest teach the children of Israel all the ordinances of the law and of the commandments. Jubilees 1:26. The text is clear. The law already existed, written, preserved, and waiting. Abraham kept the Sabbath. Abraham observed the Feast of Weeks and the first fruits of the harvest and the Sabbath days according to the commandments. Jubilees 2:30 and 21:12. Abraham, often portrayed as pre-Mosaic and lawless, is here revealed as a keeper of holy rhythms. Noah practiced purity laws. Noah wrote down in a book everything concerning all the clean animals and unclean, and the laws of purification. Jubilees 7:20. Even before Moses, ritual purity and dietary distinctions were known, transmitted through Noah, not as innovations, but as restorations. Jacob gave tithes, and Jacob vowed a vow, and he set up a pillar, and he gave a tithe of all that he had. Jubilees 32, 2-10. Jacob's offering wasn't improvised generosity. It was covenantal practice, rooted in a divine structure older than Sinai. The angels were the first teachers, and the angel of the presence, who went before the camp of Israel, took the tables of the divisions of the years, as a testimony of the eternal law. Jubilees 1:29. The angels themselves were scribes and teachers of divine law, maintaining a heavenly record of justice and transmitting it to the righteous across generations. The implication? If the law was not given just to Israel, if the Sabbath, purity, and tithes were known before Moses, then Sinai wasn't the beginning. It was a renewal. The law is cosmic, not national, eternal, not temporal, given to the faithful, not just to one people, but to anyone who walks in righteousness. For the law is ordained for a covenant, that they should observe it forever among all the children of Israel. Jubilees 6:17. But in Jubilees, even, this verse is framed in the context of renewal, not origin. But why was all this hidden? Because Jubilees speaks of a world filled with celestial order, angelic rebellion, and divine law woven into every breath of creation. It blurs the line between heaven and earth, between human history and something older. It presents a cosmic faith, where time, space, and destiny are already written in God's heavenly tablets. A vision too radical, too mystical, too uncontrollable for the early church, so they buried it. But now, we unroll the scroll again. The Book of Jubilees, the Book of Enoch, the Gospel of Mary, the Apocalypse of Peter. At first they were read in the open, quoted by bishops, copied by scribes, cherished by communities of faith. But over time, they were silenced. Why? Because truth was no longer just spiritual, it was political. The rise of Empire Christianity. When Christianity became aligned with empire, especially under Constantine, unity became the highest priority, and unity required control. The church needed a canon, a clear, enforceable doctrine, a Bible that said, this is truth, everything else is heresy. And so, books that challenged the hierarchy were buried. Books that gave voice to angels, to women, to cosmic cycles, were deemed too dangerous. Jubilees, with its heavenly revelations and strict timelines, didn't fit the new structure. But suppression is never eternal. These banned books have survived, not because the powerful preserved them, but because the faithful hid them, copied them, believed in them. Because truth has a pulse, and it beats even beneath the ashes. Jubilees was never forgotten, only forbidden. And what is forbidden always returns. While the Western world debated, deleted, and destroyed, one nation, far from Rome, untouched by Greek councils or Latin decrees, quietly preserved what others had buried. Ethiopia, a land whose roots reached deep into ancient faith. A place where Christianity was not imposed by empire, but embraced through revelation. And here, the Book of Jubilees was never banned. It was canonized. Still today, within the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, Jubilees is read as scripture, as sacred and inspired as Genesis or Exodus. To them, it is not an apocryphal curiosity, it is part of God's revealed truth. A living archive of the forbidden. The Ethiopian Bible contains books the West erased: Jubilees, Enoch, Tobit, 1 Esdras, the Shepherd of Hermas, and more. Why? Because in Ethiopia, faith wasn't filtered through empire. It wasn't shaped by politics. It was rooted in tradition, mysticism, and memory, unbroken. Their churches aren't just buildings. They are living libraries, carved in stone, bound in skin, preserved in song. While Europe burned manuscripts, Ethiopia illuminated them, copied them, guarded them. You might ask, why does this matter now? Why dig up books that were banned, buried, and forgotten? Because these texts challenge the boundaries we've accepted. Because they whisper truths that still echo through the corridors of faith. Because they invite us to look again, not just at scripture, but at the story of how truth is shaped and who gets to shape it. The lost books expand the divine narrative. The Book of Jubilees doesn't deny Genesis. It enriches it. It paints a broader canvas, one that includes celestial calendars, pre-Sinai law, and divine architecture built into time itself. These are not contradictions. They are dimensions of faith that were sealed away, and in an age where so many feel spiritually lost, perhaps the answers lie in the very books we were told to ignore. This isn't about conspiracy, it's about courage. The courage to ask, what were they afraid of? What was so dangerous about angels and timelines and Edenic memory? And more importantly, what truth might still be waiting beneath the dust? The past was silenced by fear. But the present, it's listening, and what it hears and could transform everything. This is your invitation to unroll the scroll, to listen again, to let go of fear, and hold fast to wonder. The Book of Jubilees, the words of Enoch, the voice of Mary, they are not dead. They are waiting, and the ones who listen, they will remember what the world forgot. They tried to silence it. They tried to bury it. But truth has never needed permission to rise. It doesn't fade with time. It doesn't bow to councils or thrones. Because truth is not of man. It is of God. And though men have edited pages, rewritten laws, and closed scrolls, the voice of the eternal cannot be silenced. The Book of Jubilees still speaks. So does Enoch. So do the forgotten Gospels, not as relics, but as echoes of a deeper truth still alive, because you're here, watching, listening, not by accident, but because something in your soul remembers. A higher Eden, a voice before doctrine, a God who is the same, yesterday, today, and forever. His truth was never lost. It was never owned by empires or institutions. It was only waiting for a heart open enough to hear. What they buried still burns. What they banned still breathes. Because the Spirit of God is not confined to canon, and His truth will always find those willing to receive it. The question is, will you receive it? If this stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Like this video, share it with a seeker, subscribe and come back for more echoes from what was once erased. And remember, the most sacred truths are often the ones they tried to keep from you. But no matter how deep they were buried, God's truth always finds a way.